Kia ora and Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all for standing with us today. Today we're unifying our voices against the UAE-backed RSF militia in Sudan. We're standing against foreign-backed genocide, and we're calling on our government to choose human rights, to uphold human rights and protect Sudanese civilians and end their trade deal with the UAE. We will not protect profit over people, and we're standing here together to say that the Sudanese people will no longer die for UAE's gold. The Sudanese people will no longer die for the imperialist interests in Sudan, and that Sudan is for the Sudanese people. A Sudan la Sudanin. So firstly, I would like to welcome Yunus. He will start us off with a prayer. Thank you.
Ya Allah, today we are standing on behalf of our brothers in Darfur, in Sudan, Al-Fashid, and we ask you to empower us, though we ourselves are weak. Though we ourselves are weak and have no power, you are the most powerful. You are the all-knowing, and you are the most merciful. So may you give us your strength. May you empower us to continue fighting for our land, and may you empower the people in our land to continue fighting for our land. And may you make us strive for the better days, to the days where we had peace, to the days we had smiles, to the days we could sleep peacefully and greet our families with happiness. Amen.
Thank you, Yunus. So, Yunus and Izzadeen are the organizers of this rally from the Western Sudanese Alliance, and they are also survivors of the Darfur genocide, which started in 2003. And so today you will be hearing from voices that are directly connected to the realities on the ground and that are impacted and that have lived the realities of what we are seeing today. And that's why it's so important for you to stand with us. Izzadeen and Yunus actually lived in Chad in a refugee camp for 9 years prior to being accepted as refugees in New Zealand. And I just want to talk a little bit about me and Yunus's conversation as we were actually coming here. And he told me that actually when having these talks about what's happening in Sudan made him understand that they actually fled a genocide. This was knowledge that people that were in that situation did not even understand and were not allowed to understand. They were told their whole lives that the situation in Darfur was a civil war. And you can understand why that narrative has been pushed. It evades accountability. It makes it seem like it's an armed struggle that civilians were on. But that's not the reality for people that are from Darfur. What's happening in Darfur and parts of Kurdufan today is ethnic cleansing. It's the systematic targeting and killing of indigenous black tribes. And we must call these crimes what they are. And what we're seeing in the rest of Sudan is a proxy war, fueled by foreign interests, imperialist greed, and this is a war waged on the Sudanese people, for Sudanese land, for Sudanese resources. And you must remember that. It's integral that we call it what it is. And we use the correct language so that we can call for the correct intervention. Next up, I'm gonna call Ezadine and Eunice to the stage from Darfur so that they can tell you a bit about what the experience was like for them, being Darfur, being part of the earliest waves of displacement from the region, from the genocide, and so you can get an understanding of the realities of our people and people that have been displaced from the Darfur genocide.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Izzadeen, aka Izzy. Yeah, like Nunu said, we fled Darfur in 2003 when the first genocide happened. I didn't even know the word genocide was, or even ethnic cleansing. So the part of Darfur that we are from called Al Janena. So most of the people there, they speak Masalid, a language that they've been telling us not to speak for even before I was born. And I might say some word in Masalid, and then also I'll carry it on. And we are not Arabs. That's one thing you guys need to understand as well. We might be speaking Arabic because we were forced to speak Arabic, but the language that we know how to speak is Masalid. Masala meaning we kana meaning to many and I gani meda ga masa masala tilo ko nure ko ye lakin tangi mini tile de yer che meaning am bolos meaning am ne dawe de kana muregi o masala alam ko koy ni dawe ambayawe lakin abanam de agudu lusure garu ni garu ke malana game balad mini multe just translating that in this country there's no one that speak the language that I just spoken besides from our house. So when I'm outside of my house, I don't speak my language. I only speak English. When I'm with my brothers, my parents, that's when we speak the language. And there's a lot of us all over the world. And if you're studying, study. If you're fighting, fight. Because no one is gonna give us our freedom without us saying that we want our freedom and peace. And yes, UAE is committing a genocide, and everybody is quiet. And also, United Nations human rights is bullshit. Because how can like so many people getting killed and they're not saying anything? It's like they pick and choose who should live and who should die. And I don't think because we darker skin we don't deserve to live. I don't think because we darker skin we less value as human beings. Our country is rich in resources. Our country is our culture and our family, our people are rich. But then again, because we are darker skinned, they see us as minorities. And for the past 20 years, I haven't seen my country. We lived in Chad for 9 years, and that 9 years, we get to learn that they hate us because we speak our language, and they hated us because they don't want us to be educated. Because if we are educated, then we will fight them and take what's ours. And over time, now they're bringing people from all over the world to take over the country that we call home. And inshallah, one day, we will take our country back. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Yunus. I am Izzadeen's younger brother. Last night I was just watching a lot of videos of what was happening in Darfur, and you know, it kind of gave me memories of my people, but also like showed me how powerless I am. You know, there's many influences around the world who could stand up and speak up for everything that's happening around the world, but they use their power to benefit themselves. And us, who do not care about fame, who enjoy the silent areas and being introverted, when it comes to things like this, we don't really have power to speak out and get people to hear us. And you know, it started like reminding me of my culture, because though there's many different cultures in the world, in my culture, when we greet one another, it's not just a handshake. We touch one another's shoulder and then we shake the hands. And when we're talking to one another, we crouch down and show our humbleness, showing each other that you're not above me and I'm not above you. And we are equal. And there is many families in Darfur right now where the fathers are put in one group and these kids, females, young ones, getting raped in front of them and getting forced to see it. And the men getting chopped up in front of the females and the females getting forced to see it. And they're not just trying to ethnically cleanse us, but they're also trying to traumatize us for those that are actually, for those that let go. And it's been getting worse throughout the years. Like some of us, like me and my brother, and some of my family, we were lucky enough to survive the genocide in our area, and we were able to go to Chad, where they looked after us for 9 years. If the government looked after us, but even then the people did not accept us because we're not from their area, we're not from them. So, you know, as a human, it gets confusing a lot sometimes, because we all have hearts and we all get hurt. We all love and want to be loved. So it doesn't make sense why you wouldn't want your family to be hurt, but then you would go and hurt others and come back and enjoy life with your family. So I've been asking myself a lot of questions to understand humans. Because some see us as animals. Are we speaking, like, do we not speak English? Do we not speak Arabic? Do we not speak any language that's in the world? Are we, do we, because we eat with our hands and not with forks or knives, does that differentiate us from the world? Is our skin color being different a problem? Or our hair being different grade, thicker sometimes and thinner in some areas? Is it like, I'm trying to understand, is there only one type of human? Or is there different cultures? Because what we learned in the scriptures is that Adam was created from many types of clays from around the world, and leading us to us right now. Everyone here has a different shade of color. Everyone's fingerprint is different. Everybody thinks different. And if we can't be different and live together and be grateful for those that have things and be grateful for what we have ourselves, then why are we on this earth? What are we doing? And greed is a big thing amongst humans, but like there's limitations to everything. And being powerless is really depressing, I can tell you that. Because my people are dying and there's nothing literally except for standing here and talking to the few people that are here. I can't do nothing. I'm not strong on my own to go back to my country because I'm not bulletproof. I could easily be killed, and so will my family. So I ask you guys, if you have power, even if it is 300 followers on social media, do not forget to talk about Sudan. Do not forget to talk about Darfur, because what happened last time was that social media showed what was happening in Darfur. It said, hey guys, look at this. This genocide is different from the other ones. This time you can actually see the dead people and the blood on satellites. And the world said, that is horrifying. And all it took was just over a week for everybody to go back to their normal life. So, are we just gonna allow the world, those who have power, and it's not much of them compared to us, those who are fighting, to keep on killing us as we sit, as we watch it like it's a movie or an anime or whatever it is that our brains perceive it to be? Well, we're going to stand up and use our social media, use our words, push it out to the parliaments and each country that we're in. All it needs is only 1 to 10 people with power to stand up and do something about it. So please, after today, don't just go back and continue with your life. I know it's not easy, it's easier said than done, because I myself asked myself, is it right for me to study here and work and enjoy life, wear sneakers, wear a watch, or get a haircut when my people are dying? But the main thing is we don't forget about what's happening there. We keep on talking about it, we keep on spreading the word, and wearing shirts, whether it's Sudan or any country that is going through genocide. And I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but please continue to support us, continue to empower us, because going through trauma is very hard, but those who are there to support you keep on making you stronger. And like I said, I am weak, but with you around, I feel like I have more power. So continue to support us, and thank you for being here today.
Just 5 more cents to say. I know it's holiday time, so please, they've been saying, Habibi, come to Dubai. Habibi, don't go to Dubai, because your money is also funding the genocide if you go there for a holiday. And I know many Sudanese also live in UAE and they don't want to speak about it because of business, right? But you don't want to be a sellout. Even if they want to cut you off from business contracts, you don't want to sell your people out. You don't want to kill people so you can have a better life. Yeah? So if you're a Sudani with a lot of power, if you're a Sudani with UAE money, start speaking for Sudan. Start speaking for Darfur. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Zidane and Eunice. Honestly, this speech made me so emotional. I'm trying to fight back my tears, because it's a lot harder to speak when you're emotional. But you don't understand what's been robbed from us as Sudanese people, you know. And even in Zidane and Eunice's speech, it doesn't even give you, it was not enough for you to even understand what's been robbed from them. They lost their father in this genocide, they lost other siblings, they had their mother carry them while she was pregnant with their sister from one border to another, and they grew up in a refugee camp for 9 years. Do you guys understand what that means? And it's not fair, like Zidane said, that we're living in a world that gets to choose and pick who gets to live and die. We're literally living in a world that gets to pick and dictate the fate of our brothers and sisters. And that is not fair. And it hurts me even more that we have survivors of genocide standing from 2003, standing here in 2025, trying to convince you that their people are human. Have enough people not died? for your heart to be moved, for your blood to move for us. And it's important to know that over 300,000 people were massacred in those first waves of killings and from 2003 and 2004 alone. And the authorities have been warning the world that the genocide was never over. So you could only imagine the scale that it has reached at this point. And recently we've had reports from Sudan Doctors Network that 60,000 people in Al-Fashir, following the fall of Al-Fashir, in just 3 days were massacred. I don't think you're understanding what's happening in Sudan and why it's so integral to stand with the people of Sudan. And what you've got to understand is that the international community has neglected Sudan. They have neglected Darfur. Darfur has not received justice for their genocide, for them to be in a continuation of their genocide. What we see in parts of Darfur and Kurdistan is a direct continuation of those systematic killings, of those patterns. And that's why it's so integral to use your voice. And I think for us that are Sudanese, for the Darfuris alone, for the last 30 years, it's been hell. For the rest of Sudan, for the last 5 years, from the beginning of the genocide, from the beginning of the revolution, we've literally just seen Sudan be destroyed to literally bits. We've watched our family die, we've seen mass displacement, we are witnessing the worst humanitarian crisis in the entire world right now. And so, even for us to be Sudanese, it comes with so much guilt, so much pain. Like Azadine said, it's so hard being on this part of the world, being able to dress the way that we dress, having that comfort, having all these privileges, while our people are literally dying and have been dying. And all we can do is literally stand here and try to convince the world that we are literally human, that we are worthy for governments to actually be outraged, for the world to be outraged of Sudanese dead. Sudan is an indigenous rights issue, it's a black rights issue, it's a woman rights issue. That's what you've got to understand. And it's so hard, to be truthfully honest, coming from Sudan and trying to advocate for our people, knowing that we live in the world that runs on anti-blackness, because it profits the world. The death of African people profits the rest of the world. That is the truth. And that's why it's easier for governments to be silent. It's easier for governments to just exploit us. When we literally see Canadian armored vehicles, Chinese weaponry, we're literally seeing arms from the UK, from the US, all funneled through the UAE to the RSF. What does that say? What does that tell us? When we're literally dealing with a militia, it is not a paramilitary force. They do not represent the Sudanese people. You must understand that. The RSF is a militia, literally rebranded from the Janjaweed. The Janjaweed were responsible for the genocide in Darfur, the 2003 to 2004 ongoing genocide in Darfur. The Janjaweed, which is now the RSF, is responsible for that genocide. And that should get you to start understanding who we're dealing with. And they were legitimized and formalized by the former Bashir regime, the regime that the Sudanese people overthrew. So when we talk about remnants of the past regime, we're actually talking about the RSF, because they were created as a coup-proofing mechanism. And you can clearly see that today. And why it's so important to call them a militia, to call them a terrorist organization, is because they do not support the Sudanese people. They are not legitimate. And their agenda is to literally terrorize, exploit, and kill the Sudanese people. Tell me, what paramilitary that terrorizes and kills its own people is for its people? The RSF is not for the Sudanese people, and that's why we must not name it a civil war, because you are giving them legitimacy when you do so. I'm sorry. Next up, we have Hasabu. Hasabu is also from Darfur, and he fled Darfur due to fear of unjust treatment and persecution of Darfuris in 2017. And so he actually traveled through sea to Australia, where he was exiled by the Australian government on arrival, and to Papua New Guinea, where he lived on Mamounis Island until before he was accepted as a refugee in New Zealand in 2024. So Hasabu is going to talk to us a bit about the realities of the situation.
Thank you, Fatima. Thank you, New Zealand, for coming out today. Really appreciate that you're coming out on this sunny day. What's going on in Sudan is not a secret anymore. It has been on the news all over the world. Since revolution, our people, especially what has been going on in Darfur, is totally different than what's going on in Sudan. Yes, it's unfortunate that Sudanese people have to experience this war all over Sudan. But what has been going on in Darfur is different. I am saying it because I have lived the experience. I was born in Darfur. I was raised and grew up there in a small town. It's called Ambaru. It's in North Darfur. But in 2003, I have to flee my home to capital city of North Darfur, which is Al-Fashir. So I know how it feels to have a home destroyed. I know how it feels to have loved one killed. I know how it feels. It's overwhelming. Sorry. Yeah, so I fled to Al-Fashir. And Al-Fashir has been one of the major cities that all the people from all over the Darfur have to flee to. And that's back in 2003, because it was the safest city. And finally, when the genocide happened, few of us was fortunate enough to make to this city that had been making the highlights lately, known as Fashir. But well, after revolution, another genocide had been witnessed. It was in Guinea. It was very similar to what happens in Fashir, but it was uncovered like a Fashir, because the tragedy is way worse. It's worse. It can't be described. Anyway, I'm one of the few people that fortunate enough to make his way out from Sudan, because it was unsafe. It was unjust for the poor people like me. And actually, it is indigenous people that have been suffering all over the world. So it's really important to stand with indigenous people, because our issues have been challenged all over the world, in Australia, in New Zealand, and pretty much in Africa as well. Sorry, it's overwhelming. And again, like what has been going on in Sudan, it's not a civil war, it's an ethnic cleansing, and it's a genocide. Yes, because like these militias have been brought by UAE from all over the world, and it's well documented that just some of the mercenaries have been brought from Colombia, Chad, Nigeria, all over the Africa. So I will appreciate if the New Zealand government, of course with our pressure, to cut the tie with UAE trade, because that will be pressure from our government. That's the least our government can do. So please, when you go back, call your MPs, call on government to take some steps to do something to stop this. Otherwise, it will be a complicit. Thank you again for coming out on this sunny day, and appreciate it.
Thank you, Hassan. As you can clearly see, like I said earlier, it's really hard and it's really re-traumatizing for them to speak about the situation, given the fact that they have lived realities, and that's why it's so important for you to all support them as well and stand here with us to ensure that they're not alone and that their voices are heard. I just noticed we haven't done some chants, so we're gonna do some chants. Follow after me. Sudan is not for sale.
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 A Sudan les Sudanese.
Sudan is Sudanese.
A Sudan les Sudanese.
Sudan is Sudanese.
UAE, you can hide.
UAE, you can hide.
You're committing genocide.
You're committing genocide.
UAE, you will see.
UAE, you will see.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
UAE, you will see.
UAE, you will see.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Sudan is not for sale.
Sudan is not for sale.
Darfur is not for sale.
Darfur is not for sale.
Blood, blood, blood on your hands.
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 Thank you. Up next we have Ragda, one of our organizers. Ragda is from Khartoum. From Sunni's background. Khartoum is the capital city of Sudan. And yeah, she'll give us a bit of an historical context of the situation in Sudan. Thank you.
No Sudan o Kitipuna, Itipu ake oki Tāmaki Makaurau, e noho ana o ke mangere. He union organizer ho Norera, tēnā koutou katoa. We stand here today to denounce Darfur's genocide, to speak about Sudan's war, but to also defend a people whose history stretches back to the dawn of humanity. We gather here not in fear but in strength, the strength of a people who refuse to forget who they are. With the horrific genocide in Darfur, we owe it to our people struggling for survival back home, to all the victims, to our ancestors, and to ourselves to speak the truth clearly and loudly. Because if we don't tell our own story, others will continue to bury it. Our last rally was only 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, we stood here and spoke about the atrocities being committed by the UAE's RSF and how it feels like we're trapped in a never-ending nightmare. Every time we think we've seen the worst, the RSF manages to unleash a new level of unimaginable horror on our people. So today, I just want to speak about what's happened just in these last 4 weeks. At our very last rally, we spoke about how the reported Sudanese death toll was 150,000 since the war broke out 2.5 years ago. But how our people on the ground have stated the figure is outdated and severely underestimated. Now, journalists are reporting that a more accurate figure is 400,000 have been killed in Sudan in the last 2.5 years. In our last rally, we talked about the reported death toll in El Fasher was 2,000 people in the first 2 days alone. Since then, Darfur's governor has reported that 27,000 people were killed in El Fasher in just 3 days. And yesterday, it was reported that the low estimate is 60,000 people have been killed in El Fasher in the last 3 weeks. 60,000 people in one city. Let that sink in, because this is one of the worst massacres this world has ever seen. We also learned that 25,000 children have been killed in El Fasher since the war began. And a few days ago, the RSF drone struck a kindergarten in South Kordofan. Yes, you heard that right, a kindergarten. Not once, but twice. And that wasn't enough. When the wounded children and teachers were rushed to hospital, the hospital was then struck as well. 114 people were killed in those attacks so far, and 46 of them were children. In Bara, a witness recounted how the RSF attacked a hospital, and the very first place they went to was the maternity ward, where they killed newborn babies, pregnant women, mothers, midwives, nurses, and doctors. The same pattern we saw in El Fasher's maternity hospital, where 460 people were massacred. One hospital has now been fully transformed into a military base. They are deliberately targeting babies and children as part of the ethnic cleansing, because they don't want to see our beautiful indigenous black children grow up on Sudanese soil. Shame. And since our last rally, I saw a video of an RSF soldier stating they must rape Sudanese women to cleanse them of their lineage. And that's when it hit me. The mass gang rapes are not just sexual violence being used as a weapon of war. It is part of the same ethnic cleansing campaign. We also learned that the RSF are blood-sucking vampires who have kidnapped civilians to forcibly take their blood for their soldiers. A violation of humanity at its most basic level. All of this in just 4 weeks, Etefano. And this is not an extensive list. These are just some of the things that have happened. And it truly makes me feel like we're living in a dystopia. Because tell me, how many of you saw these stories on mainstream media? Not many, right? All of that is happening in Sudan, and the rest of the world still doesn't even flinch. Shame.
Shame.
And this genocidal violence is not happening in isolation. They have never stopped trying to erase us. And the long history of the Arabization of Sudan following our colonization and enslavement, which is rooted in Arab supremacy, has been used to kill and marginalize our indigenous people who they deem to be too black, to erase our past, to strip us of our indigenous African identities, and to rewrite the narrative of who belongs on our own land. Shame. And let's be honest, my God, have they done tremendous damage. Colonization has done such a number on some of our people, has twisted our mirrors so badly that you have Sudanese people who don't even know their true identity. And that confusion wasn't an accident, it was engineered by policies made to erase us, by the shaming of our blackness. And the violence reaches into our sacred history. They have tried to erase our ancient civilizations by stealing our stories, mislabeling our artifacts, and aggressively looting them. Thousands of irreplaceable pieces of our ancestors' legacy, some of the world's most ancient treasures, gone. But despite their efforts, we refuse to forget our roots. And to fully understand the crisis in Sudan, we must first remember the greatness we come from. Only then can we understand what is truly being stolen from us. And anyone who truly knows our Sudanese history knows this. Before we were called Sudan, we were called Nubia. That Nubia didn't refer to a single tribe like it does today, but to all Sudanese people, including our Nilotic people from southern Sudan, our people from Darfur, and indigenous people of central Sudan. We were all united back then, and the division they tried to create between us based on religion, region, tribe, who apparently has an ounce of Arab blood and who doesn't, who's darker skinned than others, have all been part of the old colonial divide and conquer blueprints. Those who know our history know the name Nubia was given to us by ancient Egyptians, from the ancient Egyptian word meaning gold, because they were in awe of our gold art, statues, jewelry, our pyramids capped with gold. Gold has always been a huge part of Sudanese art and culture, our signature. We have always been a people of gold, and the looting of our gold isn't just a loss of our resources for us, but another attack on our culture. Those who know Sudan's history know Tasseti, our ancient Nubian civilization, thrived generations before ancient Egypt civilizations even existed. Sudan was not only the cradle of black civilization, Sudan was the beginning of all civilization. And now the world's largest scientific gene testing study from Oxford has recently discovered that the start of all humanity traces back to no other than Sudan, going back not hundreds of thousands of years, but over 1 million years, so much longer than they originally thought. And if our people have endured over 1 million years, then our people are as resilient as it gets. We have lived through it all, and our survival outlasts every oppressor who has ever tried to erase us. So hear us clearly when we say, our people are not going anywhere, our people will not be wiped out. Those who know our history know our ancestors built the renowned kingdoms of Kush. There were the Nubian kings and queens that proud black people across the globe still invoke, reclaiming the royalty that was always theirs. That our ancestors were fierce guardians of the land who fought off endless colonization attempts, known for their archery skills so precise they would strike the eye of the enemies from across the battlefield. They wanted Nubia back then for all the same reasons they want our land today. So those who know Sudan know our homeland is not poor. It is bountiful, rich in so many minerals, rich in fertile land preserved by indigenous knowledge and care, and as rich as it can be in black history. We know we are being exploited only because we are so rich, oppressed because we are so powerful. And finally, but most importantly, those of us who know our history know that our past is not great in spite of its blackness, but our history is great because of its blackness. So despite these monsters killing our people and dehumanizing our people in every way possible for being black and indigenous, as heartbreaking and soul-crushing as that is, through the pain, through the grief, through all the tears, what we will continue to do is move in this world united, carrying the full weight and power of our ancient black history, walking with the spirits of our ancestors at our sides and holding our heads up high. Ngā mihi nui, thank you.
Thank you, Agda, for that powerful speech. I just want to reiterate a bit of what she was saying. I hope you remembered those figures. 66,000 people massacred in Al-Fashir in just 3 weeks alone. And I also like to add that Sudan Doctors Network also released 2 days ago that 550,000 children since the beginning of the war in Sudan have died from malnutrition and starvation. 550,000 children. And you know, since the beginning of the war, they've told us repeatedly since the first year, 150,000 people died, 150,000 people died. For over 2 years, these figures have remained stagnant. Only now, we're getting a bit more coverage, and we're seeing the death toll rise higher as we expected. But imagine, if they were stagnant for all that time, that means we do not understand the true scale of the violence in Sudan. And parts of Darfur and Al-Fashir also have a telecommunication backup. That's something that we must also, internet backup, that's something that we must also acknowledge. So we must utilize our voices and continue to speak about Sudan. And I want you guys all, everybody that's here today, please make a commitment to stand with our people, to use correct language, to ensure that you're raising awareness about Sudan, whether you're just telling your friend or you're at a family dinner with your family and you're having that discussion. Because Sudan's issue is not just for Sudanese people, it's a human rights issue. It was a revolution that was robbed by the Sudanese people. The Sudanese people came out in their numbers to fight for their democratic rights, to fight for a Sudan that they envision. And that's why, that's more of a reason why we must stand for Sudan. We must stand to ensure that the bloodshed in Sudan ends. And just as Wagda was saying, Sudan is inherently rich. It used to actually be called the breadbasket of Africa. And right now, we're facing the world's biggest humanitarian crisis. Remember that famine is man-made, famine is engineered. We have enough to feed our people, we're just in war. There's an attack on the Sudanese people. Sudan has always been known for its resources, for its arable land, for its fertile land, gold, uranium, oil, frank essence, you name it. And what we're seeing in Sudan is Sudanese people become commodities for this global war economy. And leaders become surrogates of a military-industrial complex because war makes so much money for these leaders that are complicit. Shame. Shame. And that's why you must stand with the Sudanese people. Because Sudan is not for anyone but the Sudanese people. Sudan is not for sale. And the RSF, and I want to touch a little bit more on the RSF militia. The RSF militia run as a transnational mercenary group. Their soldiers fought in Yemen, employed by the UAE and Saudi Arabia. Also in 2017, prior to the recent conflict, the RSF militia conducted extreme attacks on Darfuri people in Jebel Amr. They also looted the mines in Jebel Amr, which is in Darfur. And overnight, the RSF militia's general became one of the richest people in Africa. You can understand why Darfur benefits them so much. And you must also understand that Darfur itself is a region the size of France. the previous government, the previous regimes that the Sudanese people overthrew, actually started these genocides as insurgencies to crush any type of rebellion coming out of Darfur, because the Darfuri people have historically been neglected from Sudan, from Sudanese governments. And so it actually started with Darfuri rebel groups, Darfuri groups banded together so that they can so that Darfur's voice can be included in central government. And so it started off as insurgencies and turned into mass systematic killing of Darfuri people, so that Darfur continues to be marginalized and doesn't have a voice in central government. And just like Azadine said, they weren't allowed to speak their own language. By the way, Azadine and Yunus, which started us off with giving us an understanding of what life is like in Darfur, they are from the Masali tribe, which was primarily targeted throughout the genocide. And so they were not allowed to speak their own language. They were stripped from that. Like Ragda said, the Arabization of Sudan has always sustained the marginalization of Darfur. And so what we're seeing is not only a direct continuation of that, but we're seeing modern day colonialism. We're seeing imperialism. And we're seeing a UAE expansionist project. Not only in Sudan actually, and a lot of different parts of Africa. And so that's why our message is clear. If we want to end the bloodshed in Sudan, the UAE must stop funding and sustaining the militia carrying the genocide. And it's well documented. There's evidence of supply routes of gold being smuggled out. 96% of Sudan's gold 96% of Sudan's gold is at the hands of the UAE, despite since the beginning of the war. Tell me how that makes sense. And so you're seeing them come in the disguise of diplomacy and humanitarian aid and humanitarian corridors that actually smuggle gold out and that are funneling weapons in. And we're taking a stand to say that we will not allow this anymore. So thank you everyone for being here today, and please make a commitment to use the correct language, to stand with Sudanese people, to learn and educate yourself on the situation in Sudan. And also, just one point that I wanted to add about the RSF militia. In 2017, the European Union gave $200 million to the Sudanese government, to the previous regime, Omar Bashir, to curb migration, to stop refugees from going onto their shores. Guess who was hired for the job? The militia. They are hire our militia for regional instability, for literally, they run for their profit, and that's it. And so that's why we cannot call it a civil war. Because when you call it a civil war, you are legitimizing a militia. You are giving them the same equal weight of the Sudanese armed forces, which is actually the only legitimate body in Sudan. And so that's why it's integral not to call it a civil war, to refrain from this language that actually benefits their cause, that evades them from accountability, evades them from the fact that they have been committing genocide, and this is a war waged on the Sudanese people. So yeah, I'll end with a few chants. Please come in strong. Sudan is not for sale.
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 UAE, you will see.
UAE, you will see.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
UAE, you can't hide. hide.
UAE, you can hide.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Sudan is Sudanese.
Sudan is Sudanese.
Sudan is Sudanese.
Sudan is Sudanese.
Hands off Sudan.
Hands off Sudan.
Hands off Sudan.
Hands off Sudan.
Sudan is not for sale.
Sudan is not for sale.
Darfur is not for sale.
Darfur is not for sale.
Blood, blood, blood on your hands.
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 Thank you everyone for standing with us together today. It means a lot that you're all here. Honestly, like, I don't think a day has gone by where, for the last 5 years, to be honest with, my thoughts haven't been with Sudan and the war. And I'm pretty sure that I can speak on behalf of all Sudanese when I say this. We carry so much pain. The loss of our homeland, the death of our people, the destructions of our home. And for me, particularly, I came here when I was only 2 years old. My father was exiled by the previous regime, the Bashir regime. And I was born in Ethiopia, and I came here when I was 2 years old. And I actually only went back to Sudan. I only first saw Sudan when my father passed away. That was the only time I was allowed to see it, in 2010. And I went again in 2016, just before the revolution. And I spent a whole year in Sudan because I wanted to connect with my father's homeland. I wanted to understand my story. And in many ways, and I speak for so many Sudanese that did not get the chance to, live in their homes, to really understand like who we are and have that connection because of the forced displacement. And so when I went to Sudan in that year, what I saw was honestly people that were so resilient, and despite how hard living was in Sudan, people that were so giving. I remember every time I went into a store, the dairy owner would call me Biti, which means my daughter. And this is a complete stranger, If you're walking down the street and there's people eating and they don't know you, but they will force you to eat with them, particularly during Ramadan. Like, strangers will force you to eat with them and break fast. It's such a beautiful place. I was telling Eunice on our way here that when I was leaving Sudan at the airport, I had the support. I had so many people come to the airport to say goodbye to me, from the dairy owner to the fruit and veggie store owner to the hinna lady that did my hinna. I had a lecturer because I studied Arabic while I was in Sudan, and she traveled from Bahrain, 8 months pregnant, to Khartoum, to the airport, and she went on 3 different transportations just to say goodbye to me. This will allow you to understand what type of people the Sudanese people are. And anyone that has lived among Sudanese people know that Sudanese people are one of the kindest people in the entire world. Even Malcolm X says that he's never met hospitality, like he's never seen hospitality like he's seen in Sudan. And that his experience in Sudan was one that was unmet for him. He's never had an experience like that because of the Sudanese people. And so it brings me so much sadness that, of all the destruction and the violence and the atrocities that we are witnessing in Sudan among a people that carry so much light, that are so giving, and at the end of the day, it's innocent people that bear the burden of it all, And so, thank you for standing here with us. please make a commitment. Next time you come to our next protest, bring another friend with you, or two, or your whole community, your whole tribe, your whole house, if you can. But just make a commitment to stand with us. Correct anyone that's not using the right language, always. And honestly, like, to be truthfully honest, like, I've been seeing this a lot, and I do want to get this off my chest. Please, like, if you're gonna label it a civil war, just don't say anything. To be truthfully honest, because if you're not using the correct language, you're not calling for the correct intervention. So it's pretty much useless. I'm sorry. You know, it's particularly if you're calling a genocide a civil war. Who are you protecting? You're not protecting our people. You are causing more harm. You are implying that our people are dying due to armed conflict, and they are armed. They are not armed. This is a war waged on the Sudanese people. This is a proxy war and a genocide in Darfur. A proxy war in Sudan, a genocide in Darfur. Please remember that language, because you are not protecting the Sudanese people, and we don't need. And it's sad because as Africans, we're taught to just take any recognition we take, because at least you're talking about us. No, that's not good enough. We're here to say that we're not taking that. We are not taking that. If you want to advocate for our people, advocate correctly. If you want to say anything, do not harm, do not create more harm. This is not how you protect the Sudanese people. Thank you all for being here today. Also, sorry, not just going to talk a bit about the donations.
Sorry, just very quickly, just to let people know, we do have donation boxes there on the left. I'm going around for anyone able and willing to donate. All proceeds will go directly to victims on the ground in Sudan to provide aid and food. And just for some context as to why that's so important right now, starvation is being used as a weapon of war. And Sudan has been in a famine since mid-2024. And during the siege a few months ago, it was reported that in El Fasher, 2 kgs of bread cost 1,000 New Zealand dollars. 1 kg of flour was $350, and 1 kg of sugar was $350, and 1 kg of flour $460. And a child is dying every 9 minutes in Sudan because of malnutrition and starvation. And what makes it really bad is at the beginning of the war, the United Nations basically abandoned the people and left Darfur. And what that means is that international organizations do not have access to the regions they need to be in, and there is very little aid and food coming into Sudan. Mainly people are relying on community kitchens that are being funded by Sudanese diaspora. And when we need literally billions of dollars worth of aid, that is just not enough. So every dollar counts, and they're just over there. So thank you for now.
Okay, we want to end with some chants, so let's lead strong. Sudan is not for sale.
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 UAE, you will see.
UAE, you will see.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
UAE, you can hide.
UAE, you can hide.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Blood, blood, blood on your hands.
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 Sudan is not for sale.
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 UAE, you will see.
UAE, you will see.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
UAE, you can hide.
UAE, you can hide.
We charge you with genocide.
We charge you with genocide.
Blood, blood, blood on your hands.
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 A Sudan le Sudani.
A Sudan is Sudani.
A Sudan le Sudani.
A Sudan and the Sudanese.
Darfur is not for sale.
Darfur is not for sale.
Sudan is not for sale.
Sudan is not for sale.
Down with imperialism.
Down with imperialism.
Down with colonialism.
Down with colonialism.
Here now today.
Here now today.
Sudan is not for sale.
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 Africa is not for sale.
Africa is not for sale.
Thank you, Final.